It's Tanya Bridge Malone back with another YouTube video. So I'm going to show y'all my fit. So I'm going to have to take this off and I'm going to show y'all my fit. It's cold out here today. It's only 50-some degrees. But I wore shorts and a t-shirt, but I got a jacket on me. Adidas toboggan, my Adidas shirt. Y'all have already seen this, but I'm just showing on body fit. My Adidas socks and my Puma shoes. That's my fit. Got a story to tell. But yeah, I'm uploading my Ross in the store thing. I realize I don't show a lot of stuff on my Ross things, but I just go in the store trying to bring y'all some content. You know, I go in there every day just trying to see if they have any new shoes, new clothes, or anything worth copping or anything worth showing on my video. But if comment down in the comment section below if you want me to show you everything in the store. Like if you want me to show you all the women's clothes, all the women's, you know, and if you want me to show you more shoes than just tennis shoes, just comment down in the comment section below and let me know if you want me to show the pictures they have in there you can put in your house. There's towels and rags in there. There's different stuff in there besides just clothes and shoes. So if there's anything else you want me to show you while I'm in the store, let me know. I'm trying to bring you some Marshalls things inside the Marshall store and stuff like that. But I am currently uploading that video I just did in Ross. I only copped one thing, and it was some underwear, because I need some underwear. I bought me a bra last night from Walmart because I can't find any in here that I actually want to wear. Because I told y'all I don't like bras that have wires in the bras. I don't like that because I'm not very big, so I can't stand all that. So anyway, I did get me a bra last night. Y'all seen that in the review I did, and mostly it was just food. But I went into Ross today. I didn't see a whole lot. I did see maybe 3 or 4 pairs of new shoes. They had an all black Adidas shoes that would have matched this perfectly. All black Adidas, but I didn't end up picking them up. It was like a size 8 or 8.5 in the women's, and they had an all white pair of Adidas. They were $39.99. But I don't need them. You know what I mean? I've got these Puma shoes that match this fit. I don't need no more shoes. I've got plenty of shoes, so I'm just trying to watch what I spend because I don't need to buy shoes. No, undergarments I can use because I need bras and underwear, but they didn't have a whole lot in the size small in there, so I will show you all the underwear I copped. And yes, as always, I got my headphones on me. And so I'll show you all this is all I got was some underwear. I seen some Tommy Hilfiger ones in there. They were bikini kind, but I didn't end up getting them. But I got these. This 5 pair of underwear I got for $14.99. I don't know if they have the original price on here. I'm looking to see if it is. Yeah. Wow. Original price is $60. Y'all see it? $60. There's Steve Madden. You got a pair of gray, a pair of light pink, a pair of white, a darker pink, and a pair of black ones. So I thought 5 pairs, and if these were originally $60 and I got them for $14.99, I would never give $60 for underwear. Not for these. But anyway, that was the original price though, y'all. So that's all I copped was some underwear. That's all I copped. I stopped at Burger King and got me a coffee, a medium coffee. That's all I bought, y'all, you know. And my story to tell, and I'm going to give it time for the Lord to guide me what He wants me to speak of. I do like my fit. This is a very comfortable fit. I know it's not really warm enough to wear it today, but I do have my black heavy winter jacket over here. What I wanted to speak of, while I'm waiting for the Lord to guide me what He wants me to speak of, what I wanted to tell y'all is that I was supposed to have gotten a check tomorrow for my short-term disability because remember I told y'all I got approved from 3/5/2025 through 4/16/2025, right? Okay, so what's going on is that I got my back pay because they owed me 3 weeks from the back pay, which I got last Thursday. And on Wednesday, I got an email where you click into the email, in your email stating you got something fixing. Like, they'll send you something. They're paying me through my Works Pay portal. So I got my back pay, but altogether, that's 5 weeks of pay. I've only received 3 paychecks. And the 3 paychecks I got was the back pay they owed me. Because, you know, they had to wait for me to get the doctor's papers sent to them and faxed to them, and they had to accept it, and they accepted it. So that's 5 weeks of pay, but I've only received 3 weeks of pay. So I was supposed to have gotten a check this week on Thursday. I'm figuring. Because I figured they got the back pay paid up because they had to wait for the paperwork to get processed and all that. And so anyway, I'm still should get a check for this week, and a check for when next week comes, I should get a check next week. So what I did is I called the short term where I seen I didn't get an email. You know, when I went in, I logged into the portal site, I didn't see anything going in there. It's supposed to go into the bank on Thursday. When I worked there, I got paid. You know, when I worked at the last place I worked, we got paid weekly. So I figured, they paid me the back pay they owed me, and then they still owe me for this week, and then I'd get a paycheck next week's what I figured. They got me caught up. I figured I'd get a check this week. Hold on a second, y'all. I'm still coughing up this phlegm. But anyway, I logged onto the portal site, and I didn't see anything going to go in there, because usually they'll send me an email if something's going into my checking account, because so the disability is sending the money to my workplace, and they're paying me direct deposit the money into my checking account, which I had set up when I worked there. And I didn't see anything going in. I logged into the portal site, and I didn't see anything going in there for tomorrow, because tomorrow would be when I would get the money, if they was paying me or whatever's going on. So I didn't see anything. So I called the disability hotline number, and I entered, it takes you through the prompts of you all know how it is, automated systems. So anyway, they asked me for my name, asked me for, my name, my birth, and my date, and all that. So I gave all that information, and it said that they sent $680 some to my job, to them. Means they're processing it and taking taxes out of it's what they're doing. They're taking taxes and stuff like that out of it. So they sent $680 some to my job for them to process, and then I'm supposed to get the money through my direct deposit into my checking account. And it said they sent a check for $680 something for 3/30/2025. These are the pay dates. This is the pay week. 3/30/2025 through 4/5/2025 for $680 some. Now, I don't know if that's the gross pay or if that's the net pay. I don't know. But anyway, there was nothing on the pay portal site to show you. Like, when you know what I'm talking about, y'all, you go through your pay portal site to print off your check stubs if you need proof of them. If you're signing up for anything, that's where you go to see how much money's going into your account the day before it goes in there. Well, there was nothing on there, so I did call. Like I said, I called, and the automated system told me they sent $680 some to my job or whatever for processing the check, because they have to take the taxes and stuff out of it. Then they just direct deposited what money that I'm getting paid out of it after they take taxes out. Well, I didn't see, so I thought, well, okay, I need to get a hold of HR manager where I worked, and because they're the ones deal with that. And so I texted my HR manager. I still had her number in my phone, and I texted her and asked her. I said, I called short-term disability. I said, I got 3 paychecks, which was my back pay. I said, but I called short-term disability. I don't have no money going into my account tomorrow. It's not showing up on the pay portal site, because that's the way they chose to pay me. That's the way I got the first 3 checks, which was the back pay they owed me. So anyway, and it damn near took a month to get the money by the time I got the paperwork and everything turned in. But they have approved me for 5 paychecks. There's 5 paychecks from March 5th, 2025 to April 16th, 2025. So I'm still owed 2 paychecks. So I figured once they got me caught up from the back pay that I would get a check this week, and then I should get a check again next Thursday. That's what I'm assuming. And it is 5 weeks from March 5th to April 16th. April 16th ain't even here yet. So they did send, when I called the short-term disability hotline, it did say that they sent a check to my job for $680 something for March 30th through April 5th of 2025. So I thought, well, There's nothing showing up in the pay portal site. And I usually will get an email where you can click on it and take you to the pay portal site. You sign your username, password, log in, and it'll show you how much money's being direct deposited into your account the next day. You know, because we would get paid on Thursdays when I worked there. So anyway, I called the HR. I messaged and texted the HR lady, which she's really nice. She said, I don't know. She said, I'll have to get with Sharon, which she's the higher up manager who, you know, anyway. And I told her, I said, well, I've called the disability hotline, and it said they sent you all a check for $330 through $405 for $680 some. I said, I said, I logged into the pay portal site, and there's nothing showing going into my checking account. I said, you all paid me. They paid me. I said, I told her the dates I got approved for my short-term disability, and I said, I've called the disability hotline, and it says that they sent you all $680 some for it to be processed so you all can take the taxes and stuff out of it, and then whatever's left's what I get in my checking account. I said, I should be getting a check put in there tomorrow. I said, but there's nothing showing up on the pay portal site. And I said, I've already called the short-term disability people, and it's already showing that they sent you that check. I said, I should have a check for this week, and I should get another one next week. Unless they're just going to give me those 2 weeks next week instead of giving me this week's pay. I don't know. However they do it, I don't know. But anyway, when I worked there, I got paid by the week. But I figured once I got caught up, that they would pay me for this week and then pay me again the next week. But I don't know, like I said. But anyway, I know I got 2 more paychecks coming to me because there's 5 weeks in between those. And that'll be the last 2 checks. That would be all I'll get from the short-term disability approval. But I should have 2 more checks coming. I should have got one this Thursday. And so anyway, she sent me a message back. She said, well, I don't know. She said, I'll have to talk to Sharon. 3 or 4 hours passed. I didn't hear anything. So I texted Tiffany, and I said, give me Sharon's number and I'll just call her and see what's going on. And anyway, she texted me. She said, well, I'll talk. She said she's got a later schedule. She's coming in at a later time today. So when she comes in, she says, I have a meeting with her at 2 o'clock. I'll ask her about it. And I said, well, okay. I said, but I know they paid me. I said, they approved me 4/5 through 4/16. I said, I should get 5 paychecks total in the time that they approved. I said, I've only received 3 paychecks. I said, that was the back pay they owed me. I said, I figured Ben's the back pay. I should get a check this week, and I should get one next week. I said, I need that money. So I said, if you don't mind, talk to her about it. I said, but I went on and texted Sharon, and said something to her about it, but I haven't heard anything back. I don't know what time. I guess Sharon hadn't come into work yet, but you think I don't know. But anyway, hopefully everything gets straightened out, but I didn't get a check this week. If I did, it's not showing up on the portal site because I should be getting one. Unless they're just going to wait till next Thursday and give me the last 2 weeks and then I'm done. Yeah, they only owe me 2 more weeks of pay, but I wouldn't be owed the next week's until next week. But I should have got a paycheck this week. And when I called short-term disability, it did say they sent a check to them for processing. Because they have to send it through the company so they can take out the taxes and stuff out of it. Because anytime you get paid something, they always take taxes out, And so, I'm owed, I didn't get a check for this week, basically, because nothing showed up in the portal site, and I should have. Either I'm supposed to get it this week or they'll give me both checks next week, one of the two. They ain't going to screw me out of my pay when it comes to my short disability, because the thing of it is they approved me for 5 weeks of pay. Because March 5th through 4/16, that's 5 weeks. I've only received 3 weeks, and that was my back pay I was owed. I'm still owed a check for this week and next week, and then they don't owe me nothing else. But I'm not going to get screwed out of 2 paychecks, especially when I'm not working anywhere right now. They done approved me for that. So, like I said, I had to, you could sit back here and say, oh, well, they don't owe me nothing. Yeah, they do. You know what I mean? You don't want to let people walk all over you. You want to at least find out what's going on, because maybe they're going to wait till next Thursday to pay me the last 2 checks I'm owed. I just figured once they got the back pay paid up and caught up to that point, but they still owe me a check for this week and a check for next week. I was approved through the 16th. Now, next Thursday would be the 14th of April, because that would be when I would get paid. Because when I got my 3 checks of my back pay, I got paid on a Thursday, because that's the way they do it when they're going through my work to take the taxes and stuff out. Y'all know, and like I said, that made sense. But it don't make sense why I didn't get a check this week. Since I got it caught up, I figured I'd have got a check this week and one next week. But they may wait and pay me the last 2 checks they owe me next week, next Thursday. You know, I don't know. That's fine too, but I want my pay. You know what I mean? I don't want to be screwed out of 2 weeks of pay that I was still, because that next 2 weeks of pay, that's all I got to go on. You know, I got $729 left in my checking account, which is good, you know, but I'm still owed 2 more weeks of pay. I'm not going to get screwed out of that. And it did show, I didn't have to talk to anybody at short-term disability because I entered my information and said they send the check from 3/30 through 4/5 to my workplace, because the last 3 checks were all dated 3/23 through 3/29 because they owed me 3 weeks. They owed me 3 weeks of pay because I had to wait till I got all the paperwork processed and they got it, received it, and approved it. But like I said, from March 5th to 4/16, that's 5 weeks. And when I worked there, I got paid by the week. So I figured once they paid me up for the back pay, and they still owed me for 2 weeks, that they would just pay me pay me by the week for the last 2 checks they owed me. And I know it would be on Thursday because they don't pay you on Fridays or Wednesdays. They pay you on Thursdays when I work there. So I don't know how that goes. But anyway, if I'm going to get my last 2 checks, I do know that they sent a check to them for 3/30 through 4/5, which I should have got tomorrow. I should have got an email stating that that a check was going into my account, and I didn't. Unless they're going to give me this week's pay and next week's pay on next Thursday. You know, I don't know. But I wasn't going to just sit there and idly sit by and, not say something, you know. I wanted to make sure I got my pay, you know, because them's the last 2 checks I'm going to have to add with the money I have to go on until I either file for disability and wait. You know, I need that money because I'm not working right now. And if I'm owed that money, I am owed that money. They're not going to screw me out of that money at company, whatever the hell they got going on. Now, like I said, I don't know what's going on. That's the reason why I called and asked. And I thought, well, they approved me through the 16th of April. The 16th of April ain't even here. They haven't paid me for that. Now, they owe me for this week, and then next week I should get a check. So that's 2 checks. So unless they're going to go on and just pay me up for this week and next week's and just do it all next week. But I should get 2 paychecks. I got 2 paychecks left coming from them. And after that, they don't owe me nothing else. But they do owe me for this week, and they owe me for next week. When it comes, you know. But I figured I would have got a check this week, and then I'd have got another check next Thursday, you know. I don't know what they got going on. I mean, if they're going to pay me this week and next week's on next Thursday's, you know, give me 2 paychecks next Thursday, that's fine. As long as I get my pay. You know what I mean? Because I'm owed them 2 weeks, and that's the last 2 weeks they owe me for, you know. I just want to find out what the hell's going on because I don't want to get screwed out of money. Who knows? They could have fucked up and messed something up or something, or maybe I'm not supposed to get it till next Thursday. I don't know. When it comes to my money, I don't fuck around with my money. Excuse my language. But that's the last 2 paychecks I'm going to have for a long time till I either get a job or file for disability, you know. And I could have went on and got a job while I'm drawing this disability, short-term disability, but if I did, I'd had to turn in what money I was making, and I would have got less money from the short-term disability paychecks. For the simple fact, if you have any money coming in from any other source, they sent me a paper saying you have to turn that in. And I'm not working anywhere. I'm not even been looking for a job right now because I'm probably going to file disability once all this shit comes through. But you can't file disability until you have no money coming in at all. Because if you have any kind of money coming in from any outside sources, you can't file for disability. That's the reason why I'm waiting for all these checks to come, so then I can go file, you know. Because you can't have no money, you can't have no job. You can't have no money coming in from any outside source if you're filing for disability. And that's a whole nother thing. That's another thing. That ain't the short-term disability. That's just a whole nother issue there that will come when I get these checks. After I get these checks and spend the money, I'm going to go file for disability. Exactly what I'm going to do. Because like I said, if you go file for disability, you can't have no money coming in. So Benz, I got approved for short-term disability. Had I didn't get approved for short-term disability, then I would have went on and filed for disability. But Benz, I got approved and I've got money coming in. I could use the money anyway. So I haven't even filed for a medical card yet because I still have money in my checking account. I still have money. I can't have freaking checks coming and money coming in and them approve me for a medical card, whether I have insurance or I don't. And I left that job 2 weeks ago, because I told them, I texted the disability people, told them I wasn't coming back to work, but they had already approved me through 416. So they still owe me this week, and they owe me for next week, when next week comes, however they're doing it. Whether they're going to give me 2 paychecks at one time, that's fine if that's how they're going to do it, but I want to make sure that I get my money, Now, basically, I'm down to $729 in my checking account, so I'm watching what I spend. My mom fixed to roast potatoes, carrots, and all that in a crock pot yesterday. Well, the day before that, she fixed it in the oven. She kept it in there for 2 hours, and she said, man, and everything was tough. The potatoes wasn't done. The meat was so tough, you had to take a knife to cut through it, and it was really tough to eat. I ate one piece of the meat, but the meat was done. It was tough. And I don't know why she ever put it in the oven, because putting a roast in the oven, I would never do. I would always use a crock pot, because any meat you put in a crock pot, it falls away and just breaks away. You know what I mean? It's always juicy and tender because all that steam stays inside of it. That's why when you fix meats in the crock pot, it just falls off the bone. It just falls off. It's tender, juicy. Versus when you fix meats like that, I would never fix a meat like that in the oven. I don't know why she done that, but anyway. Everybody makes mistakes, I guess. But yeah, she cooked it in the oven for 2 hours and even cut through the middle of it so it could get done. But yeah, she ended up the next day. She said, well, it was 9 or 10 o'clock at night. She'd been up all day. She said, Tanya, I'm going to bed. I'll get the crock pot out tomorrow and put it in there for half hour, 45 minutes, and it'll be good. So anyway, it's just a few things going on. I don't have a lot going on. I'm really starting to get bored, you know what I mean, not having a job and stuff. It's going to be a real waiting process for me to file for disability, because I don't know how long it'll take to get approved, if it even gets approved, but I haven't filed yet, simply because I've still got short-term disability checks coming in, and you can't, and I know for a fact that you cannot file for disability if you have any kind of money coming in at all. Even though I'm not working anywhere, this was approved before I ever left my job, But it was for 5 paychecks. I've only received 3. And that was the back pay they owed me. They still owe me for this week and next week. But that don't mean I'm going to get next week's pay this week. No, but I should have got a check this week. I would have thought. Ben's, when I worked there, I actually got paid by the week. But I don't know how they do it. With the short term. I don't know. But one thing I will say is it took almost a month before I even got any paychecks. Because I went on short-term disability leave on the 5th of March. And I didn't actually get it approved till like the 27th of the month, when they sent me an email, or sent me a text message saying it was approved, because my doctor's appointment wasn't until the 13th, and I couldn't even get in any earlier than that, so I had him fill out the paperwork. And they received it, and then they sent me a text when they had received the paperwork from the doctor, because they faxed it from the doctor's office to where it needed to be faxed to short-term disability people. So anyway, on the 27th is when it was approved, and I got my back pay on 4/3. I got 3 paychecks, because there was 3 paychecks they owed me from the back pay, because I had to wait until I got the paperwork turned in and they received it and approved it before I would get any checks. So I left on 4/5 and didn't get any of the paychecks till 4/3. So that's almost a month before I even got anything. But I did get the back pay that they owe me 5 checks altogether. I've only received 3. So I should have got one for this week, and I should get one for next week. That's 2 paychecks. I'm not saying that they owe me next week's today. I'm saying they owe me this week's for tomorrow. Because when I worked there, we got paid on Thursday. So if they're going to pay me through my short-term disability pay, it's going to be on a Thursday, because they're going through my job to take the taxes and stuff out. We all know that if you get paid any kind of thing, you have taxes took out of it. It's just the way it is. And they sent me a letter saying if I needed time off past 4/16, that I needed to fill out some more paperwork. And my thing is, I've already left that job. I don't plan on going back to that job. I've already told short-term disability people I'm not coming back to that job. I quit that job on like the 22nd or 23rd of last month. That probably ain't been quite 2 weeks, but I told him I wasn't coming back because the doctor told me, the doctor told me that I don't need to be doing that job. I'm going to keep continuing to injure myself. Once I left that job, I figured I had no insurance. Because usually when you quit a job, when you leave a job, you don't have no insurance from the day you quit. So it took them 3 weeks from the time I seen the doctor on it was like 2 or 3 days ago. They texted me or called me and left me a message saying to set up my physical therapy. Well, I figured, when I left my job on the 22nd or 23rd of the month that I didn't have any insurance, so I can't afford to go to physical therapy. I mean, I can stand up fine and move around, but I'm not lifting no heavy stuff. Because my doctor told me that, if I continue doing that type of work that I was doing, that my back would be re-injured. Because he said physical therapy would only help temporarily. So I'm not going to continue to do that job. That's why I left that job. I didn't want to leave that job, really, I didn't, but I had no choice. I was making $21.50 an hour, but I had to do what I had to do. I mean, it don't make sense to continue working a job that you're going to continually injure yourself and end up having chronic back issues. If you can, the doctor told me, he said, if you continue doing this job, lifting this heavy a weight, he said, you're going to end up having chronic back issues. He said, it's not worth it. And that job wasn't going to continue to leave me on light duty. No matter even if the doctor told me if I couldn't perform the job, they wasn't going to keep me because they deemed what happened on the job as a pre-existing back condition. So the only way I could have fought the workers' comp is to hire a lawyer to fight it, and who knows how many years that would have went on for, and it wasn't even worth it for me. I just left. And they told me the only avenue I had to go was to apply for short-term disability, so that's what I did. I'm glad I did because it's a little bit of paychecks, and they owe me 2 more checks. So I'm not going to let them get by with not paying me. I'm at least going to call the HRs and find out what's going on, And if I get both of them next Thursday, that's fine. But I'm not going to let somebody screw me out of pay because of something in HR that might have been messed up, or maybe it's just I ain't supposed to get them till next week. I don't know. But it don't hurt to call and find out what's going on. If you just sit back and do nothing, you may not get them at all. And you may have supposed to get them, and I know I'm supposed to get them. So I don't know what's going on. That's why I'm trying to call and figure it out. Nobody's texted me back yet, so I don't know. But anyway, I've gotten a hold of 2 HR managers, so hopefully I'll get an answer by the end of the day. And I know people are busy, you have to be patient to wait, but I should have got a paycheck tomorrow, and I'm not getting one. Because if I was, it would have showed up in the portal telling me how much was going into my account tomorrow. Because that's the way it was when I worked. That's the way it was when they gave me them 3 paychecks, that they paid me at once because they owed me back pay. They still owe me for this week and for next week, when next week comes. Because that was already pre-approved. So anyway, that was just a little bit of something on my mind. I'm sorry I've took up 28 minutes talking about the same thing. I don't want to bore y'all. But anyway, I'm just waiting on the Lord to see what He guides me to speak of. And sometimes I don't know what I'm to speak of, you know what I mean? But just know that either or, no day like today to ask Christ into your life, because the Lord loves you and He wants you to ask Him into your heart. And I've gotten one freestyle online that has gotten 700 and some views. I thank y'all for the views. I thank y'all for the new subscribers. I got 321 subscribers. I really want to get to I want to get to 500 subscribers, but my ultimate goal is to get to 1,000. My ultimate goal is to get to 1,000, and my goal is to get more views. And I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm not putting a lot of weight or heavy excess stress on myself by worrying over it, but that is my ultimate goal, to at least get to 500, and then ultimately to get to 1,000 subscribers. And I really do put a lot of work into these videos. I may not edit my videos. These videos are they're unedited, they're raw, they're the truth of what's going on in my life. I speak about and do many of different types of videos on here. I mean, and I show y'all my fit I'm wearing for the day, which a lot of people do. I mean, I've had some people, I had one person on here one day, which has been about a month or so ago, saying, why are you show your fits? Nobody cares what you wear or whatever. I deleted that comment because I'm into fashion, and if you don't like, people want to leave negative stuff, but the thing of it is, there's many YouTubers online who show shoes, who show clothes, who show their fit. It's not a big deal. I'm into fashion, so that's why I do it. And I appreciate my subscribers and my new subscribers. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to me. I try to bring you content from Ross, the inside of Ross, the inside of Marshalls. I try to bring you, every once in a while, I might do a food review, you know what I mean? If I buy myself something, I show that. I speak of the Lord as my ultimate goal, to reach the lost. And I do freestyle videos. I do many things. I may not be shooting a freestyle video every day, but I'm bringing y'all content, different things. You know what I mean? If I buy food, I do reviews of it. I show you all that stuff. I take you all and tell you all stories about into my past life. Not my past life, but into my past. I tell you how I was raised. I tell you my upbringing. I talk about my son. I've talked about so many things in my life because I feel like I'm a walking testimony for the Lord, to bring you what's going on and what's happened in my life, what I've been through and the mistakes I've made, so that maybe you all can understand that you're not the only one that made a mistake. Because let's be real, man. We've all made mistakes in our life. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all are not flawless. You know what I mean? We're not flawless. We're humans. We wasn't born perfect. But we're righteous in Christ's eyes. Remember that. When you accept Christ into your heart, you're righteous in His eyes. So just picture yourself standing in front of Jesus and you're righteous in His eyes. No matter what mistakes you may made. Because once you've accepted Christ into your life, a lot of times our brains will, a lot of things, let's put it this way. I think we could all agree between me and all my viewers that watch my videos, I think we could all agree that we've all made mistakes. Because there ain't a soul on the face of the earth that ain't made a mistake. There ain't one person on the face of the earth that ain't made a mistake. Except for Jesus, when He walked the earth for 40 days and 40 nights in human form. He's the only one perfect. They ain't none of us perfect. And I think we all could agree that we've made mistakes. That's one thing that I think we could all agree on. Everybody's made mistakes. But what I'm trying to say is, when you have faced in life dramatic events, I want to speak of this, and that's probably what God wants me to speak of, because He's been speaking to me about dramatic events. When you have been through dramatic events in your life, I think we could all also agree that we never forget those dramatic events. A lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. Most people don't. I mean, for me, at least for me, I can't speak for all people, but at least for me, for my situation, it's hard for me to forget those. And a lot of times every day I sit and I think about all those past mistakes that happened in my life. But I know that that's only the devil messing with my mind. But the thing of it is, we live in a fleshly body. First of all, we live in a fleshly body. So our minds will have past traumatic events come up in it. That doesn't mean we're bad people. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you haven't forgiven that person. It doesn't mean you haven't that you haven't forgiven those people who did you wrong. That's not what it means. It just means that it's hard. Sometimes we faced with trauma, and that's what it called. When you've been through dramatic events, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's abuse, beating abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's verbal abuse, whether it's mental abuse, whether it was the death of a family member or a child, or any kind of death of somebody you was close to, if you've been in the army and seen killings and been in wars and you've seen dramatic events, any kind of dramatic event, a fire, anything, it could be anything, a tornado maybe passed through that you dealt with. There could be many dramatic events that you have been through in your life. Maybe I'm speaking to people who's all over the world, who's all over different countries, different nations, and different cultures, different people, whatever the case may be. What I'm trying to speak is, you've been through a dramatic event. No matter what that dramatic event is, you rehearse that in your mind sometimes. It comes back to the mind. Because we are human form. We are humans. We are flawed. We have all made mistakes. And if that dramatic event comes back into your mind, that doesn't mean that you haven't forgiven whoever's done you wrong. Because God wants us to forgive people. It's just the way it is. Sometimes traumas is hard to get rid of. They talk about, you got people that say you need to heal from past relationships, past traumas. But you know, with me, those past traumas seem to always resurface in my mind. But it doesn't mean that I haven't forgive the people who did me wrong. That's not what it means. You can forgive, but you never forget. At least with me. I mean, and I think that goes for a lot of people. But I can't speak for all people, you know. But that's the way I see it. Because when past traumatic events come back into my mind, it's not that I didn't forgive the people that did me wrong. It's just that I don't trust them after that. I don't trust them. But I love all people. So I forgive people for myself. Not for the other person, but for myself. Because I don't want to carry that weight around and that hate around. Because like I've been speaking on my YouTube channel, when you carry that hate around and you're trying to seek revenge against somebody because you're holding a grudge, that ain't good. Because Christ called us as Christians, if you're a saved soul, to forgive. That don't mean that you have to forget. That ain't what it means. It don't mean you ever forget it. It just means that you forgive and move on for your sanity, for your clarity. So you're not walking around in calamity. Shout out to God, God's saying, so you don't walk around with that hatred in your heart. You don't walk around trying to seek revenge against people who've done you wrong. Have you ever heard 2 wrongs don't make a right? If you go out here and seek revenge against somebody, what's it going to do for your esteem? How is that going to boost your esteem? It's not going to make you feel any better as a person. Actually, for me, I'm speaking for me, it would only make me feel worse. I've done that before, y'all. I've sought revenge before, y'all. In a past marriage I had, my second marriage, I did. I did something I shouldn't have done, but I did. I didn't cheat on him. Well, I talked to other people. I ain't perfect, man. I mean, I've done stuff I shouldn't have done, but what I'm saying is I've made mistakes by holding a grudge. And I had to forgive so I could move on. That was one of the reasons why my last marriage, my second marriage, didn't work out. I take accountability for that. I would not forgive him for what he did. I was holding a grudge, and that hatred was coming out in that marriage. That was partially my fault. It was not all his fault, but we were never going to work out even if I did forgive him. Because he was continuing to treat my son, verbally abusing him. You know what I mean? So I don't need to go back and rehash it all, but I'm just saying, I take my accountability for that relationship. I made mistakes in that relationship. I'm not perfect. But I'm not trying to stay in that mindset. I'm trying to stay on the present tense, not the past tense. But one thing I want to speak to y'all too is, and I think the Lord's leading me to speak about this. If anything, let's say, all right, y'all, let's all talk about the dating scene, right? If you're currently in the dating scene, which I'm not. But if you're currently in the dating scene, or if you've ever been in the dating scene, which most people have, a lot of people have, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have. All right, and a lot of times a man or a woman may ask you about your past. Because they're trying to get to know you. Even though they shouldn't judge you from your past, but a lot of people will. It ain't right to judge somebody by their past, but a lot of people will ask about your past partners. They will. They'll ask about how many people you slept with. They will ask you many questions. A lot. I've experienced this in my lifetime anyway. I don't know about y'all, but I'm sure there's people that you've dated that have asked you about your past relationships. And a lot of times people do that so they can get to know you. What kind of person are you? But a lot of times what people don't understand is there's different reasons why somebody may ask you about your past. But a lot of times it's trying to get to know you to see if you ever take accountability for any relationship that went wrong. Do you take that person could be asking you that question for many reasons. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to list all the reasons because I don't know. I can't get inside the mind of a human. But what I can do is tell you one reason that I think some people could ask these questions. It could be because they want to see if you're willing to take accountability for any wrongdoing in any past relationship, because they're trying to see what kind of person you're going to be now. They want to see if you're a person who can take responsibility and take accountability for anything you did wrong. If you look at yourself, no matter what relationship you've been in, it may not have been totally your fault, but it takes two people to get together and two people to split, right? It really does. It takes two people, and not every situation is all one person's fault. Now, if it was abuse, like physical abuse, where different situations could be different scenarios. But what I'm trying to say is, people, if you're currently in the dating scene, it's somebody new, they're trying to get to know you, they want to see if you're willing to take accountability for any wrongdoing in a past relationship. And they could be asking you this to see if you are a person who's willing to communicate. Are you a person who's willing to take responsibility or accountability for any wrongdoing you have ever done? This is a long video. They may be trying to see if you're willing to take responsibility or accountability. But there could be many reasons. People shouldn't judge you by your past, but they want to see if you're willing to take accountability. Because a lot of times when you date somebody, because I've had this happen to me, they will blame one partner. They will blame that partner for everything. And they will take no accountability for what they themselves did in the relationship. That can make somebody think, well, if this person is sitting here telling me, okay, say you've dated this person for 4, 5, 6 months. Maybe you've dated them for a month, 2 or 3 months. This is just a hypothetical guess. Well, let's just, not really a guess, but it is truth because it happens to people. God wouldn't have me speak of it if it wasn't truth. Okay, so you've come into this relationship. You asked them about their past relationships, and I'm going to say, just for an example, they told you it was all everybody else's fault, the reason the relationships didn't work out, however many they had or whatever. All right, and you date them, and 2 or 3 months into dating them, you start seeing some negative signs. You see some red flags. You see some red flags, and you address them, and they turn it all on to you. Or you can see in their actions that they're not putting the effort in that you're putting in. You start seeing red flags, and when you address them, and you think to yourself, well, this person just told me when I met them, they told me that it was all the other partner's fault. And you're starting to see red flags with this person who claimed that. That right there is your red flag. That right there tells you what kind of person that is. Because if you use common sense and don't put all your emotions into somebody until you get to know them, and I know we live in a fleshly body, y'all, it really is hard to do. It's easier said than done. Let's be real, it's easier said than done. Especially when you really like this person. Say you really like this person, and say you really like this person, and you're seeing the potential in your mind, in this fantasy that you've created. You see the potential of this person, and you think, man, and you overlook the red flags. We've all done it. Don't tell me you ain't done it, because I know there's people that have done it. They have fantasized in their mind the potential they can see this person being. It's only a fantasy if you keep seeing red flags. And a lot of times we'll avoid the red flags, which is God's telling us to move forward. But if you see, okay, for instance, if you see one red flag, say you see one red flag, but don't leave somebody until you address it. But if it's physical abuse, verbal abuse, just go on, leave. I don't want nobody staying with somebody narcissistic, so I'm not saying that. There's certain situations that you don't need to address. If they are hitting on you, if they are verbally abusing you for no reason, move on. You don't need to address it. Call the cops, get a restraining order, whatever you need to do. It depends on the situation. But if it's something that you could address, if it's something you feel that's right for you to address, and address it to them, and if they don't change, move on. At least address the situation first. Unless it is verbal or physical or raping, abuse, then get away. Do not stay. Call the cops and get a restraining order and get out. I am not telling you to address that. Nobody should be physically or sexually or verbally abusing anybody. So, that's what I want to say. And it is good to address the red flags. If it is it's not worth addressing. If it's physical abuse, get out. Get out. Do not stay. Do not stay if it's that type of a situation. I have trying to teach you all of some things that you could look out for when you get into the dating scene. Even if you're not in the dating scene and you're single, even if you are not. And I'm not in the dating scene, not even trying to date. I believe that the Lord will guide the right person my way when the time is right. But what I am saying is, make sure you get to know somebody. Because time will tell all. But you also have to try to get to know this person. You have to be spending enough time with them. Okay, and another thing I want to speak of. I want to speak of this. Say you are getting to know somebody. And every time he says he or she, because we ain't sexist on this channel, he or she, you have a date set up. You have a day set up, a certain date to meet up and go out, and they cancel every time. They're not making time for you. If they are not showing up for you, then now's the time to get out. Nobody should be canceling a date or just not showing up. Unless they let you know ahead of time and there's a legit reason for it. If they continually call off dates, that's a red flag. Get out. They're not wanting to make the time for you. They are not doing what they say they're going to do. When I try to teach you all from the mistakes that I have made, and which many people who are watching my channel probably have made, many people in the world, regardless, many people have. We are all guilty for falling for red flags. We avoid the red flags. You do not need to avoid the red flags. Do not sit and envision what you can see. And many people do it. Many people do it. They date somebody and they overlook so many red flags. They see them, but they overlook them. And it's easy to do if you really like the way somebody looks. Uh-oh, what came up with that, y'all? Guess what I'm going to say next? I understand, and this is the way I am. Maybe people may not go for looks, but there's got to be something about somebody you're physically attracted to. If you're letting red flags slide, you're letting red flags get by because you are basing your love off of just their looks. You are not basing it off their accountability, their responsibility to take, and they're not showing you no appreciation. They are drinking your cup dry. They are not doing what they should do, and you are overlooking all that stuff. They do not have morals, values, and integrity. They are not forthcoming. They are lying to you. They are not telling the truth, and you're avoiding all this just because of their looks, because some people do. Some people do, y'all. Men are guilty of this. And another thing I want to speak about, don't base whether you should be with this person off of their looks alone. I'm not telling you not to be attracted to somebody. This is another thing I'm going into. You cannot just base it off of their looks alone. But I'm not telling you to go out here and be with somebody who you're not physically attracted to. That is not what I am saying. Not at all, because you have to be physically attracted to something. But what I am telling you is not to base it off of looks alone, because sometimes people's looks can be deceiving because their personality is not your personality is not up to par. They're manipulating, or they could be conniving, or they could be lying, or they could be doing so many things. Understand what I am saying. And I am trying to guide people who are out here currently dating. Me, I am single. Just because I'm single don't mean I don't know what to look out for, because I've been in many toxic relationships. And I watch Stefan Speaks, which is a counselor, and he is single too. I don't know if he is or not, but he don't have a wedding ring on his finger. But the thing of it is, dating is rough. Dating in today's day and age is not easy. But I'm just trying to guide you things that you need to look out for. Things to learn how to get to know somebody. Because in many relationships, I didn't really get to know people before I thought I was in love with them. And then once I got into the more I put up with the manipulation, lying, and cheating and stuff, the harder it was. What I will tell you right now, the longer you're with somebody, the harder it is to leave them. That is what it is for me. It may not be for everybody, but the longer you're with somebody, the longer you put up with things that you should not put up with, the harder it is to leave them, because you get an attachment to that person, especially if you're having sex before marriage. And we have mostly all done it. Not everybody, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of people have. And when women have sex with men, a lot of times they develop an attachment. They think they are in love. They feel more sometimes than a man does. Not all men, I can't speak for all men, but a lot of times women get attached quicker than a man. Not always, because I can't speak for all men. But a lot of times women are the one who get that unhealthy attachment to a person that was not worth your time. You are better off waiting until marriage to have sex. I know it is hard to do because I have never been able to do it. And the best thing for me to do is just not date at all. I'm just saying, y'all, we live in a fleshly body and it's hard not to do. But, and I'm trying to speak healthy things on my channel. I'm really not trying to be sexist or racist or nothing. I'm trying to be open-minded. I'm trying to guide you all. These are the things that I have learned over the last 2 years of healing, trying to heal from that last relationship. I'm still healing. And God has guided me to guide people who are in the dating scene. So when you're trying to get to know somebody, don't jump in head first to sleeping with them. I'm talking to women and probably a lot of men. Do not do it. You would develop unhealthy attachments. Tell yourself, if you are going to sleep with somebody, tell yourself, am I going to be able to sleep with this person and not be in love with them? If something doesn't work out, is it going to hurt me in my soul? You know it is. For most people, it is. Some people, it don't matter. I don't know. I can't speak for all people. But what I could speak of for me, it's not good to sleep with somebody. It is not before marriage. But if and when you do, if you did decide to, you need to ask yourself before you proceed. This is where you have to learn to think before you react. Think before you start doing stuff. Think about it. If you think about things before you pursue it, what is going to happen if you sleep with this person and they don't call you again? Say you never hear from them again. These are questions you need to ask yourself. Are you going to be able to sleep with this person and say, just for instance, that you never hear from them again? Are you going to be able to deal with that, or is that going to hurt you in your soul? That is what you need to think about before you proceed sleeping with somebody too early on. Many people will lie to you. Many people will tell you they will love you when they don't. There's many scenarios of this, but that's not everybody's case. But many people will tell you what they want, what you want to hear to get you in bed. You have got to know that love is big. You can have love. You can develop love for a person without sleeping with them. All it does is sleeping with somebody too early on only complicates things. But if that person decides that they're never going to talk to you again and they never call you again, are you going to be able to deal with the fact that you slept with them? You need to ask yourself this many things before you all proceed to do things that your body lusts for, but that you know is probably not best for you. It is what it is. I talk to people because I know there's people out here having sex before marriage, because even I have done it all my life. Only I've been single for the last 2 years. But what I am saying is it is hard because we live in a fleshly body. But also God wants us to honor Him. And our bodies are a temple. If we have asked Christ into our heart, then our bodies are a holy temple. And when you make that decision to sleep with somebody, if they have not made a commitment to you of marriage, do you really want to sleep with them? If you do, and say it's early on, you haven't even confirmed that they're made a commitment to you. You can't go off. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you to watch what you all do out here. I'm not telling you not to date. I'm telling you what you need to do in order to get to know somebody and what needs to be done. because lots of people are getting used out there. And you got to watch what you do. So, that is what I say. That is what I am saying. Because many of people do not think about that before they jump in bed with somebody. And I'm just being led by the Lord and speaking from my past mistakes and things that I have done in my life. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not holier than y'all. I'm just a walking disciple of Christ, and I've made many mistakes. Trust me, I've done it. I know. That's why I'm a walking testimony to speak to the ones who are currently dating. I am healing in my healing process. And so these are things that I have learned from mistakes I have made. And I'm sure many of you all have done the same. And if not, there's people out here that have, because we are not flawless. Another thing that I would tell you to do, I would be asking them. It don't have to be, if you're a person who seeks marriage, you may want to ask this person, do they ever seek to get married? Maybe a question you want to ask them. It can really reveal a lot of things. Many people will say, well, say I've only been dating them for a week or two. Should I really be asking those type of questions that early on? I'm afraid I might. You may be afraid to ask it because you may be afraid to scare them off. But that's the point. If the person has no desire to ever get married, why would you want to waste your years of your life? If you are seeking marriage, then why would you want to fool around wasting time asking them, do you ever see yourself getting married in life if you met the right person? You could ask it in such a subtle way. It may scare a lot of people off, but that's the point. If you are seeking marriage, you don't want somebody who's only going to want to sleep around with you and you give them all the wifely benefits with no commitment or ring on your finger. Karaishie. That is what you need to do. You need to have in-depth. You need to know what you want in life. When you date, you need to know whether you want to be married. If you seek marriage in your life, you don't want to waste your time on men who are not ever seeking marriage in their life. You're only going to scare away the ones that is not meant for you. That's what I am telling you. You cannot be afraid to ask questions. You don't want to rush things, but you want to know what this person's goals are in life. What are they seeking to obtain? You will never know if you do not ask those questions early on. The point of this video is to get people in and out of your life that are not meant for you in your life. For the longer you procrastinate about getting to know somebody, the longer you're wasting your life. That may be possibly time that you cannot get back. And that is why I am speaking of this. I don't know. God wants me to speak of it, so I am speaking it. You need to know. You have to get to know them. You have to ask these questions if you are seeking marriage. I'm only speaking to the ones who are seeking marriage. There may be some people out here who are not seeking marriage, who do not care if they ever get married. That's a different scenario. But anyway, you gotta ask those questions. Some people want to be subtle about it, however you do it, but you want to get people out of your life as soon as possible that are not meant for you. You got to know what you want in life. And a lot of us who have made a lot of mistakes, sometimes it has scared us plumb away that we don't want to be with anybody because we've picked toxic relationships. I don't want to pick any more men. I want God to guide me the right one. I'm not ready to be. I'm still healing. So. And these are things that I also have to work on. So when I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to me too. Think about it, y'all. I don't speak hardly anything on my channel that doesn't relate to me. So when I speak these things, that's me too. I'm being forthcoming. I got things to work on. We all can be a better version of ourselves to see every day. There's always something new to learn. But anyway, this video is almost an hour. It's time for me to let you all go. So I appreciate all the viewers, all the subscribers. If you like my content, like, comment, share, subscribe. And if you are a lost soul and you want to accept Christ into your life, if you're truly sorry of your sins, you believe that Jesus died on the cross and that he arose from the dead 3 days later, then you're saved. So until next time, peace, love, and y'all be blessed.